Hey everyone and welcome back. Today's video is going to be me talking about my favourite books of the year so far. I'm not going to film the mid-year freak-out tag this year. I did film it last year, so you can go and check that one out if you want. I will link it above and down below. But I thought this year I would just leave it out and just talk about some of the books I've been loving so far this year. I looked at my Goodreads and I'm going to talk about books that I've given 4 or 5 star ratings, and those books total up to about 15. I'm going to split this video into 2 just so it's not too long. I think I did the same thing last year. I will also link the video that I did halfway through the year talking about books that I loved this time last year. I'm not going to speak about any of the books in any particular order. They're just books that I read in the first half of this year, and the first one I'm going to speak about is The Woman Who Wanted More by Vicky Zimmerman. This is a particular favourite author of mine. She also goes by the name Stella Newman. This is the first book that she's released under her real name. This book follows our character Kate, who decides to volunteer at a old person's home just before it is after her life starts to fall apart, essentially. She is, I think, approaching her 40th birthday, and her boyfriend, who asked her to move in with him, decides he doesn't want to be living with her anymore, but he still wants to be with her. Very confusing situation. Anyway, she manages to sort of get herself in this sort of weird entanglement with him, and she basically goes to visit this old lady named Cecily Finn, yes. Cecily Finn is 97 years old. Oh, I love the name of the place that she lives in. She's a resident of Lauderdale House for Exceptional Ladies. And she begins to form a relationship with this woman, mainly because it's a bond over food. But she begins to visit Celie after, Celie being very horrible to her. She eventually manages to sort of wear her down and begins listening to the stories that Celie tells her of what her life was like before she ended up in this home. And through this, Celie's talking about how the different meals that she cooked on these different occasions, and she recommends a book to Kate, and through the recommendation of this book they sort of start to build a true bond together, because they both are very into food, they're both very into cooking, but also the book is a bit of a self-help thing. And also Cecily is very, very strong, wit-minded, and she gives Kate a lot of advice about her life and just tells her all the things that she's doing wrong. So it's just really a feel-good novel. It's really nice to see a book that's written about a woman who is in a tough spot in her life, and although she's not being like outright or very obviously treated badly by a man, he's not cheating on her, he's not beating her, all these sort of things that people are like, leave him, there's this sort of feeling of he is not what she wants, but she's sort of settling and she needs to get out of that. So I thought their relationship was really nice, and it is essentially about their friendship. It's about her friendship with some of her other friends also, and how they treat her, and how she sort of manages that, and how she sort of lets people walk all over her, and also things to do with her job. It's just a real good feel-good novel, and the friendship between these two is delightful. The next book I'm going to speak about is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I remember talking about this in my to DNF or not to DNF book, and I didn't end up DNFing it, and I ended up really, really liking it. So this is Sylvia Plath's only novel, and it's loosely based on her own life. It focuses on a character named Esther Greenwood, who, after sort of completing an internship somewhere in the city, in the hopes that she will go back home and like get a job somewhere, finds out that she hasn't got that job or that internship, and she sort of just slips into a very deep depression. The first half of the book is recounting her time at the first internship and what her life is like, and how she feels very distant from all the people there, because all the ladies there know that they're sort of just going to leave this place and go and marry, and that's just what they're going to do. This is just something to keep their time. But Esther herself is a writer, and she really wants to sort of keep working in the publishing industry. So once she goes back home and slips into this deep depression, it's more about how she's treated in the American healthcare system. So she goes into, I guess, an asylum, she receives electroshock therapy, and then she's moved to a sort of, I guess, more prestigious asylum where they treat you, I guess, more like humans. There's a lot of talking therapy involved, and some other treatments as well. So plot-wise, it's not very heavy plot-wise, it's more an exploration of the mind and I guess what it's like for a female in that time century. I don't know when this would have been, so this was published in 1963, but I'm not sure what year our protagonist is in, but I just really enjoyed it as an exploration of someone dealing with mental health and, very acute mental health difficulties. This is one of the first books I read this year and I absolutely loved it. I really need to go back and reread it. This is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi. Always feel like I stumble on saying that name. And this is sort of like an essay collection, part memoir as well. He's essentially writing to his son and talking about America and race, the issue that American has with race, and what life was like for him growing up, what life was like for him now, and the things that are going on in the media right now that will affect his son. He's particularly talking about a case where, and how it escapes my mind, but where a police officer must have shot a young black boy and he gets away with it, and he's talking about how he sees his son's reactions because he sees that his son is old enough to understand, and that boy could have been him and that police officer would have walked away scot-free. It's a very interesting look at America through the lens of history, because there's a lot of historical content in here, but also through a personal narrative. Honestly, this is a stunning book. I will agree that it's beautifully woven together. His writing is absolutely stunning, and I remember saying if he wrote any fiction books I would definitely read it, and I do know he has a book that's coming out. I'm not sure if it's towards the end of this year or it will be next year, but it will definitely be something that I'll be picking up. I think this book was one of my first 5-star reads of this year, and this is Happier Thinking. Actually, I gave this 4 stars, I didn't give it 5. And I was sent this by the author Lana, Riva, and I think it's just a really lovely book for reminding yourself to stay positive and just, you know, not get bogged down with all the crap in life. It's a really small book, it's about 50 pages long, and it's just broken down into these little chapters that help you. So things like don't write off the day, and then there'll be a sort of chunk of paragraph after that. Things like dwell on the good, act on what you can change, don't compare your life to imagine others, accept change plans. Just a sort of manual for when things go wrong, like sort of pick this up and realise that it's not the end of the world. Don't spend so much time dwelling on what's gone wrong, and sort of slipping back into your old ways when you know that this isn't permanent, this is not how it's always going to stay. So I thought it was just, I nearly hit myself in the face with that. I thought this was just a really lovely book and a little nice reminder, especially if you're someone who's ever done cognitive behavioural therapy. I think this is a really good reminder of the things that they encourage you to practice in that. Another book I absolutely adored this year, and this book I did give 5 stars, is My Dark Vanessa, so you can see the title of the book along here. This is just a proof copy. This doesn't come out until January, but I encourage you to buy it when it does come out in January. This is a book about our main character, Vanessa, and the relationship she embarked on with her teacher when she was 15 years old. He must have been about 32 then. Was he 32 or a bit older? About 32 then. And in this book we flip between 15-year-old Vanessa and then current day Vanessa. 15-year-old Vanessa is going through the sort of relationship with him in school and the outcome of that, and all the sorts of things that happen in terms of the rumours around school, what the teachers do and things like that, because actually no one really knows that they did embark on a sexual relationship. It's just so bizarre. And then we're going to present day Vanessa, who is, you know, surrounded by the era of Me Too. There's another girl that has called out this man that she loves for sexual assault when she was in school, and she finds it obviously really hard to believe. And it's also about her coming to grips with the fact that she is a victim, although she doesn't see herself as a victim. So it's a very interesting exploration. This book is so nuanced because it touches on so many things. There's what you read, and then there's just so many things in the subtext that you're just like, for me it's outstanding, and it's definitely a book I am going to read again this time, sometime this year. But it's definitely a book that has that Lolita-esque vibe to it. It quotes Lolita so many times in this book, and obviously the guy in the book, Lolita, is one of the things he gives her to read, because why wouldn't a pervert give that to someone to read? But definitely one of my most powerful reads this year, that I found myself turning the pages so quickly. I couldn't wait to get through it because I was just so overwhelmed by it. Not even overwhelmed, I was just so into it that I was just like, I need to know what happens next, I need to know how this girl deals with it, I just need to know everything. So an amazing read. So I'm going to finish off this video talking about some comics or graphic novels that I started reading this year. The first one is Saga, and this was recommended to me by a viewer when I was talking about my 2019 reading goals. I was talked about wanting to read more sci-fi, and this was a very nice recommendation because it was more accessible, because it's a graphic novel. I really enjoyed this. It's about these two main characters who are both from opposing sides in this new planet that they're in. And I guess they've fallen in love and they've had a baby, but now they're on the run from other people who were chasing them. It was a bit unclear to me because there were like, I think 2 or 3 sides chasing them, or maybe they're working, or he's employed someone else, so really like he's chasing them but he's employed someone else to do the chasing, so that's 2 people, and then there's another side of people looking for them. You get where I'm going with this. So this is only volume 1, and volume, oh yes, I remember how volume 1 ends, yeah. Volume 1 ends on, you know, of course, a cliffhanger, so you want to read the rest. I haven't actually picked up the rest and I need to do that, but I just really enjoyed this because it was really accessible. The artwork was so nice. I need to find a page where there was artwork. This was it. Artwork that I completely adored. I don't know if you can actually see that, but it's just a very interesting image of this guy walking through what I imagine is a sort of sex den. I don't know what it's called. And there are these, I guess, angel-like creatures all performing sexual acts, so there's loads of boobs and stuff there. It's just so funny. The book moves from like supernatural, you've got like ghosts in here, you've got really strange looking creatures that have like 3 eyes and things like that, and no hands, like what is going on here. But essentially not much happens in this first volume. They're trying to outrun people and trying to find a safe place to start a new life with in their new family. So the other 2 comics I'm going to speak about are Monstress. So off the back of reading this, I was also recommended Monstrous by someone in my course, and I read volumes 1 and 2. I know I gave volume 1 5 stars, and I would have given volume 2 4 stars, I think. Again, this is a graphic novel where the artwork is stunning. The artwork is so delightful, and again we're dealing with creatures that are otherworldly. There's loads of cats in there as well, cats with like 9 tails. But yes, we're dealing with creatures that are otherworldly. Because I picked this up at the beginning of the year, my memory of it is now very loose, but I do know what it's about. So Monstrous 1 is about our main character. I think her name is Mika, it begins with an M or something like that, who has just basically escaped some sort of war. Like I said, there are many otherworldly creatures in here, and it seems that her people were sort of just rounded up and put into like refugee camps. So she's sort of experiencing the trauma of the war. She's either escaped or been allowed to go free, and our scene sort of opens with her escaping and breaking into somewhere else to collect something. She's always seems to be on some sort of mission, but she seems to be looking for one of her friends, and in the midst of this, it's just an adventure. She acquires a sidekick that she didn't really want, but she has to take the sidekick along. The sidekick is called like Fox or something. It's like the cutest thing ever. She seems to have some sort of demon or something living inside of her, which seems to like eat her up from the inside, but what you're getting is her having talks with this thing that's inside her head, and then sort of is gnawing away at her arm because she has like half an arm and then no arm and then a stub. So it's very odd. But yes, I do remember her going through like a journey in the first book, because there is something she wants to find and she has to go to some sort of deserted island and find them. So then that's what happens in volume 2. She goes to this sort of island of bones or souls or something like that with her sidekick Fox and this other cat who you can't tell is on her side or not. And again, we're experiencing otherworldly things. This demon is out there talking to other things on this new world of island of bones or souls or things like that. I'm probably making this graphic novel sound atrocious, but that really is how it goes. You get these little snippets as well of history of this planet or world that she's on, and there's a cat that's filling us with all the knowledge and, you know, behind the scenes of what has happened so far in this world. And really you just get to have a look at Mika and the sort of trauma and grief she's experiencing in trying to like remember her mum, carry out this mission that her mum wanted her to carry out. She just seems to be very unsure of what she needs to do, but she's bloody badass and she still continues doing a lot of things. For me, these graphic novels were just a nice little intro into the world of, I guess, sci-fi sort of fantasy, especially the whole thing in dealing with otherworldly characters. But yeah, that's all for this video today. I figured I would just try and keep it as short as possible, but I will be back with another video talking about some other books that I've loved so far this year. Let me know if you have any questions about any of the books that I've talked about so far, and also let me know what has been your favourite so far this year. I will see you in my next video. Bye!